We have a quorum, and I call the meeting of the Cemetery Advisory Board, October the 15th, 4 o'clock. It's about 4:25, 4:20 to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Cook,
Present.
Board Member Story, Chairman Calhoun,
Here.
Board Member McWilliams, Board Member Tomlinson.
Have both of you read the minutes?
I'll move to approve it since Bobby wasn't here.
The clerk call the roll?
Yeah.
Board Member Cook,
Aye.
Board Member Story, Chairman Calhoun.
Yes. Number 2, consider approval of the 2021 meeting schedule. That's the schedule we have to send up to Oklahoma City.
Second.
Board Member Cook,
Aye.
Board Member Story, Chairman Calhoun.
Yes. Cemetery Administrator's report. Cindy?
Okay. All right, you'll see in the packet, can everyone understand me or you need me to pull my mask down? Okay. You'll see in the packet that I included a graph on the open closings, and that is for the entire year to date of 2020. And behind that is a spreadsheet of the sales of city-owned cemetery spaces. And then behind that is a graph of the private sales that I've been a part of at Highland. So,
Are you collecting anything for the cemetery operators, supervisors, clerk's office when you do make a sale for someone else? Is there any
yeah,
kind of-
there's a deed transfer fee of $25 that they pay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, there should be something for the
Yeah.
time going to be spent.
Yes, sir. Okay, so that's that part of it. And then actually a lot of the projects that I've been working on since the last meeting, they've been actually getting some news coverage. So you've probably heard a lot about it that way, but starting with the radar project, the mapping part of it is done.
Can y'all hear that back there all right?
Okay, and I've integrated the records on those 4 sections. So, boy, I feel like I'm muffled. On those 4 sections so that those are all electronic now. And in fact, on all of the records that we have, I'm putting them on electronic as they come in. If there's a burial in a site in section C, I'll go ahead and put that entire plot in the electronic records. It's kind of a drop in the ocean, but it helps get us there. So I'm wanting to rely then more and more on those electronic records and less on the books as I can. The books are, especially the older books, are in quite fragile condition, and handling them every day is just putting more stress on them. So I'm trying to not do that.
Let me ask a simple question here. Do we as a city have any kind of a backup somewhere else in case this place burns down?
Everything that is in my binders is in the computer as well. And so all the paperwork I have when I came here outside of the books is all on electronic. And even
Is it on a cloud or is it on another computer somewhere?
It's where, because I talked to IT about what's the best place to put it. It's, what I just did is on Google Sheets, which is where they told me, I guess that goes up to a cloud. Do you know much about that, Marty?
You should be backing it up. We got it backed up on redundant hard drives at least, and then the servers as well.
Yeah,
So there should be plenty of backup.
yeah.
And we're actually fixing to put in another backup system we talked about earlier.
Okay. So and we are creeping there of getting all of the records electronic. That's, what I want them all. And we have the structure there for them. We're just filling them in over time. And Blake, who is now assisting me with that, and he has started mapping what will be phase 2 of the radar project. And I am starting to work with the city attorney, trying to get what he needs to move forward. So I've divided things into 3 lists. In the first list is, he wanted me to put the lots on there that it had no activity, no burial, nothing, for at least 100 years or more. So I have that list. That's the one that we will move forward with, going to court.
Now, these are the 4 blocks up in the northwest part of,
It's Drive 0, Section 3 and 4, and Drive 1, Section 3 and 4. And the next list is a list of those lots that have not had activity for 100 years or less. Those are not going to the court, but what I want to do, I want to post those anyway, because I'm wanting to update those records, get them into a living person's name. And so I want to put those out there just in the hopes I can get some response on those while I'm at it. And then we found a number of lots that had no owner of record. So there's nowhere to even go with those other than to start selling them. I don't know why there was no owner of record. I can't speak for that. There just isn't.
and there's no one that's been buried in those plots.
No. And I don't know why that was. It doesn't really make sense to me because, I mean, the thought is you would sell the entire section, then move on to the next section. But they might have started selling in the next section before the first one was all the way sold and thought they might leave some there. I don't know. It would just be speculation on my part. But nonetheless, it's available spaces right now. So I have not made any attempts to sell any of them yet. I'm not to that point. I'm getting the list together that the city attorney wants, getting my final figures, and hopefully next month I'll have those ready to, make public. I just don't have them ready yet. It's rather a long process. And then on the chapel, there's been a lot of activity, and we filed a claim with our insurer for the roof because we had hail damage on it. And we got a quote on it for about a little over $14,000. We got insurance paid about $11,000 some, and then we have the difference. That will be replaced, and it will be replaced with a standing seam roof, same metal, same appearance, but you won't have so much opportunity for water to leak through. It's just a better roof. That we have.
Do we have any insulation in that? I know I've been there to some,
I'm going to say no.
I'm gonna say no too, because I've been there to several services in the summertime and it's just like a
Yeah. Oh, it's an oven in there.
oven.
And that's going to change. Aside from the roof, and we are in an agreement with the company to do it, so it will happen. We just we haven't met the scheduled date yet, but it's going to happen. On the inside, and if you've really looked around when you've been in there, we had some water leaking in from the outside to the inside. And you could see it in the corners of the building or at the floor. So what I had them, the contractors do was to remove the bottom 2 feet of drywall around the building, the interior, and replace that. They sealed the building on the outside to keep the water out. So that stops that problem. They put new baseboard down. We have new flooring now instead of the tile. We have commercial grade wood vinyl planks. And then they did some repairs to the ceiling, to the wood on the ceiling. It was just from the heat and probably the cold year after year after year. It was showing some signs of needing some repair. So that was repaired. And then the whole inside of the chapel was painted. So while we were at it, we made some changes with moving. I reversed the inside of the chapel. So where the front was is now the back and vice versa. So when you're sitting in front of where that air vent is, you're not getting blasted in the face if you happen to be the one sitting there. So now the whoever's sitting guest, it would be blowing towards their back, not their face. And I put a set of drapes across that big window that will block that light and some of that heat. And it has helped. I can't put drapes all around the building because then I won't know if somebody's in it. And that's my way of making sure that no one has broken in and is living in it. And as odd as that sounds, we have seen evidence of people camping out there at night. And I guess it's maybe safer than some other places. But I always do keep an eye on it. And so that's why I don't want curtains all around it.
Is there any way that we can get the officers that go to close the gates?
Well, they do, but when I was there, what was beginning of the week, this is Thursday, it was Monday. There was a person there who she looked to me to have all the signs of being homeless. And she'd come in right at closing time. And the policeman was there shutting gates, and I was watering it on Drive 5. And she went towards the old part of the cemetery, not realizing he was driving up that direction. And he talked to her, and then he came over and he was talking to me, and I said, he says, she said she just wanted to visit a grave, but it was very hot out. She had a winter coat on with a hood and seemed like ready to kind of hunker down for the night.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I'll give her 10 minutes. But we talked about the fact that when he goes back to look, he probably won't be able to find her. It's just, that's a problem, not just at the cemetery, but everywhere, in town. But they do lock the gates at night.
They're not driving.
But we
in, they're
also
walking
only
in.
have gates on 3
They're
sides.
walking in, they're not driving in.
Yeah. And we only have gates on 3 sides. So, if you came from the country
Yeah.
club, it's like having a barn with one door open, So,
No, if they walk in over that field there.
yeah. So, at any rate, we had the statue dedication ceremony. If any of you look at K10, you'll see a nice piece on there about that. And that was a lot of community sponsors and a great turnout. And we have the statue there now. We also have the 10 crepe myrtles that were planted behind it. Those are white crepe myrtles. And come June, we should have a big lot of white blooms to be behind her and really make that look absolutely beautiful. So, let's see if there's anything else.
Who will take care of those in the future as they grow?
Well, I've made an arrangement with the person that does the mowing, and I think probably every other year, I don't think it would need to be more than that. But last year he trimmed the trees, but he can trim those too, or I don't mind, I'll do it. Because they're still rather small. There's a lot of wind that it's just, it never stops. And I think that stressed those plants out about, you know, so there is, I had a company donate the mulch to go over it, and that kind of keeps it from drying out as fast.
Mhm.
But I've been watering those every other day for weeks. And, but they are starting to get some little leaves, some buds. So they're, we just got to get them through the winter. But I chose that because they do really well out there. And there's some that have been out there for decades and they're beautiful. So trying to think if there's anything else.
Do you have any numbers you can share with us on the plots that we're in and lots that think we're going to end up with?
I don't have exact numbers. I can tell you there was over 2,100 lots that are not used, that were in those 4 sections. Now, not all of those are in lots that had no activity, but I mean, we came across that many. They did find 187 unmarked graves. And so what I did was, after they did their mapping, where they're just showing me where they are, then I have to go out there and do some measuring. So I measured every grave space in all those 4 sections to see how much we could fit in there, because some of them, the headstone might have fallen and it's encroached on the space next to it. You can't use it. Or some of them aren't lined up like they should be, and there's a space and a half in between them, so you can't use that space. So I don't have the exact figures, the final figures on that, breaking it down.
Now, when you say unmarked graves, you're talking about where somebody has been buried, but it's unmarked.
It's unmarked.
Mhm.
And there's one section that had a lot of them, and is kind of, because there were so many, it made me kind of wonder what they were doing. But it was in what would be a walkway going east and west and east. And they were in there like 2, 2, 2, 2. And it's almost like on purpose, they were filling that in for some reason. And I don't know who they are. So I don't know if that was a family kind of decided to take it upon themselves to do that. I don't know. But there was a kind of a cluster of several graves in this walkway. And that was the only place I saw it like that. But it was kind of interesting why that was. But with COVID in the chapel, I took out half the chairs so we could have distance between seating. And I thought, well, I'll try it and see, because I'm the one that's always cleaned it. And I did it 2 times. And the first time I did it, didn't work. The second time I did it, it was worse. And people coming in and moving, the last service that I'd had in there under that plan, the only thing that was still in the same place where I'd left it was the drapes. And you wouldn't think anybody would do that, but they pretty much trashed it. So, not knowing who's coming in, and the funeral director called me and said, I have to tell you, there was more than what you said was allowed. So I said, okay, then we're going to have a fee, because I'm not, I was sick the entire month of March. I'm not going to clean up after 30 people in a small building that I don't know what their health conditions are. So I did, the company that cleans the rest of the city facilities quoted me $175 to clean that chapel. They wiped down all the chairs, they wiped down the windowsills, the podium, the furniture in there. And then they use the e-mister, which is kind of a fogger with disinfectant in it. And so that's $175. And after every service, so all the funeral homes are aware of that. They know if it's going to be used, it's $175. Yesterday, at the council meeting, the council unanimously approved a resolution for a chapel use fee. And the reason for that was not only the cleaning fee they already all know about, but because I've spent money to upgrade that chapel to make it nice and anyone would be proud to have a service in there, I want to start turning the utilities on to protect the investment, protect that flooring. And like you said, it gets 110 in there in the summer. I don't want that. I don't want it to get 20 degrees in there in the winter. And all that I've spent on the wood flooring is going to start damaging it. So in the past, I have not used the utilities because I wanted to minimize costs. But now that I've done all this work in it, I'd like to preserve it. So we're going to have some utility cost starting up just to keep it minimally cooled and minimally heated. So it's $175 for the cleaning and $25 towards utility cost.
So $200
Mhm.
fee.
And the feedback that the grave service and I had gotten from Browns was they said they'd be happy to do that if we upgraded the chapel. They wouldn't do it otherwise, which I don't blame them. It looked like it needed an uplift, and I couldn't with good conscience even expect them to pay anything to use it. But now it's very nice, and I think it would honor anyone that had a service there. At the same time, if someone doesn't want to do that, there are so many other options. We have the pavilion, which is still at no charge. We have any of the churches in town. We have the funeral homes have chapels. So it's not the only venue that they can hold a service, but it is so much nicer. I mean, it's kind of, when people see it, generally just say, wow. They don't expect it to be that nice, and it's very nice. I did get the commercial grade flooring, and the nice part about this with the tile, you heard all the noise and people walking and the clicking of the heels, and on this wood floor, it's so quiet, and you can walk on it and you don't hear anything. And I think it's going to be a lot nicer
A
for
better
everyone.
atmosphere.
Yes. And so that's why I want to start the utilities going so that preserve this flooring as long as we can. So I can't think of anything else. Other than that, the mowers are going to be there. If they're not there today, it will be today or tomorrow. I have 2 times left. I've talked to them. We've agreed they'll mow 15th today or the 16th, somewhere in there. And then they're going to come back at the end of October on the 30th. And then that's it for the season. I had to spread them out a little bit because of the number of mowings. I track the number of mowings and how much money I have. I did want to hold one mowing back because I want one mowing in March, because a lot of times, we wait till April and it's knee high by the time they start, and it's not good for them or anybody else. So I want them to come there probably about the 3rd week of March and mow it. So then when they start April 1st, it's not crazy. They can just go through it and it's never going to get, too overgrown. Right now, all that's really growing out there are those stick weeds, and I don't like them any more than anyone else. But that's why they haven't been back. I think it's been about 10 days, and that's why. It's because of that agreement is purely money. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Uh, If you could, just wait until we get through the next part, and then we'll have our questions from the audience. Does that, were the chairs all right with the flooding?
Yes, they were fine. And those chairs were purchased. I got those when I first took over 6 years ago. And I got those in with vinyl covering, so they would last longer. The ones before that had cloth covering and they were ripped and stained and all. So that's why I got the vinyl covered ones, and they're still in good condition. But right now, we only have 20 in there instead of 40.
I think this cleaning's gonna help
Yeah. Yeah.
keep those in good shape too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all
And
have
I've
any
had,
questions?
No, I'm good.
okay, I've had good response from the funeral homes. I think everyone feels a little better knowing it's getting disinfected to that degree in between use. So, okay, thank you.
Cindy. Thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
We'll go on to Marty's report, number 4.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to report. We were visiting earlier about the drainage, our wheeled excavator. When we get it in, we're gonna try to do a little drainage work out there. We've been so busy on the streets right now, we haven't had extra time anyway. So we did discover the owner of the land to the north. Got some information from the county courthouse on them. We may try to reach out to them for at least part of that property. I don't think all of it's real usable to us, but
I don't think
that
we-
stuff on top of the hill sure would be nice.
I wouldn't recommend myself to us buying any more than maybe down to the easement that the,
Right. Well, and again, it's just worth the conversation. Maybe it's not
Mhm.
something that's gonna, start or stop us. If we find out that they're interested in letting it go, we'll have a conversation. But that's all it is really. But we got some beginning information on who it is anyway.
Good.
So
anything else?
I don't think I really have. Like I said, we haven't been out there much this season since our last meeting. So
Bobby, have you? You good?
sure.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go down to anything from the audience. Can I ask any of us?
First of all, thank you, Cindy, for going out there and doing all the extra work
Oh,
all the
you're
time.
welcome.
I appreciate that. One question is, what do we do? What do some people that bought lots for intention of no one being around them? Are you going to take their lots too one of these days? What do you do about that?
Well, as
I'm
long
just
as,
wondering,
I guess that's on. Everybody watch your ears.
because I know some families. that
As
have done
long
that.
as,
If
as
they
long as,
bought them, their name should appear on it.
yeah, as long as there is, I can keep the records updated. Where the problem is when we can't locate the owner. As long as there's somebody, I'm hoping that every family that owns spaces makes sure that that ownership
Okay.
transfers to a younger generation.
But some of them don't have that, and they bought it just to keep that. But
Yeah.
they're in. I know them personally. That's the reason I know. But anyway, that's another problem. Another thing is, I was at a meeting when they did the chapel. The group like you guys, that was something they wanted a legacy for them. And I was wondering, are there any set rules of if ever being in charge or not?
I
And
guess I'm not
and on the
understanding what you're
pavilion
saying.
too, I was at the meeting on that one too. But I don't know I don't know what the intentions were of how long it would be free, is what I'm asking. Is there anything written?
How
in
long
any
it
of
would
those-
be,
In any of those meetings?
how
I
long
mean,
what would be free?
She's saying the
use of
chapel
it.
at some point was dedicated or
It was
whatever. and-
dedicated and the guys, I mean, the people that were on the committee, I know Tom Crystal was on one when I was there at that meeting. And that was a legacy for their sitting on as members of this group. They wanted to leave a legacy for them and they did the chapel. And then the other group did the
Pavilion?
pavilion. I just wonder if there was anything in the minutes at that time about whether there'd be a charge or not, ever.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just a
Yeah,
thought.
I don't know. And so you're
And
saying it was a old cemetery board.
yes, they were the ones that did it. They implemented it.
Okay.
And I know that Tom Crystal was on one, not Tomlinson, but Thomason. He was the FBI person. He was on it. And a few others, I forgot. who all
Yeah,
they were.
I do not.
Do
know
you
that.
have the minutes of
But
their
that's
meetings?
okay. I just wondered
I-
if, if we really look at those kind of things, sometimes when we do something like that. That was only my question.
Yeah.
And I understand why you do, because people don't care anymore. They don't take care of anything
Yeah.
because somebody else is paying for it.
Yeah, and there's some things of which, even none of
But you
us could have,
penalize some that do
yeah,
care.
we couldn't foresee any of us even a year ago that we have to have somebody come in and
That's true.
disinfect it. And then, you want to protect the families,
Right.
but I can't afford to keep them coming in at $175 a pop.
Yes.
And,
Well, I didn't mean it in that
yeah.
way. I'm just thinking, I don't remember the stipulations that were.
She's
put
just
in.
Yeah.
giving us some information.
Okay, and you answered my question on when they're gonna stop mowing and start, they were
Oh.
out there this morning going guns.
okay.
I mean, really, but there's one thing about that that's bothered me, and Mr. Calhoun has noticed it too, that they're hitting those bases and breaking them, and I mean a record number. Today we counted, I don't know how many, I was gonna go back and I didn't have time today, go by and write down the names of the monuments and in what row they're in and
Mhm.
everything. I mean, I contacted a friend of mine in Tulsa, telling her mother's was down and her brother lives here and he fixed theirs. And mine, Morris Monuments fixed mine. But I'm just saying, I run into things with my lawnmower too, but it's getting to be a little bit too much.
Well, I can talk to them
But you can
about
go out
that.
there and drive and see, they're everywhere. But that's just, I'm just mentioning it because I know
Okay.
we need to go and let's see. Okay, and that was one concern about, I do know that some of my friends, and I'm old and they're gone, had bought so that people could not be buried around them. And I wonder how that applies.
If
If
they,
they're-
if they
Doing.
bought them, then
If
it
their
should
name's
be
on it,
in their
yeah.
Well,
name.
these people have bought them too, but they're being sold at one time. They were bought. You see what I'm saying? At
Yeah,
one time
but
they were bought.
It was over 100 years ago and we can't
But
prove
what,
they
in
were bought.
100 years, you expect to take these people that had bought it with their heart, that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. That's just what I'm telling you. And I also know that over that old park where you found those unmarked graves, for years, when they fell over, they were picked up, took behind that barn and thrown in a ditch.
Well, and that's what I presume when
It
I was
is.
walking through that,
It
I've
did,
heard
and
stories
people would
that-
come get
yeah.
them and sell them at like flea markets and stuff like
oh, I
that.
didn't know about that.
Yeah,
but
back in the day.
I've
back in the
heard
day.
I've heard, people
Yeah.
have told me there used to be a lot of them
There was a big
behind the building.
a ditch like thing, and they just put them back there. I saw them with my own eyes. I'm
Yeah.
not just making that one up.
No, I've
But
heard
anyway,
that. And
that's-
there's nothing back there now, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's because people would take them.
Oh,
And if you'll go to some flea markets, there's some there for sale. You know what I'm saying?
my goodness.
But anyway, that's my concerns. I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for taking your time because I know it's a free time. And anyway, it's
Okay.
appreciated. I think that's all. I'm real concerned about the bases.
Well, I will,
And he has seen it too.
yeah, I mean, if you see it, call me right then and I'll
I
go
should love
right
to
out
call you
there.
When you can drive down like I do, and you can see them.
But-
You say you're out there every day.
Over on, my family plot,
Mhm.
my big stone that's over there sits on top of another piece of granite.
Mhm.
And the only thing that could have moved it would have been a piece of equipment, because I've tried and I've had one of my son-in-laws help me and we couldn't move it. But you can go out and look right now, it's still skewed.
Yeah.
Somebody had to
Well,
hit
like
it with
my
a
bench,
mower.
when I called you, yeah. The monument people came up there and looked at it, and they said it had to be like a front end loader that got moved my bench.
Okay, because we did create a form, but if you, I mean, it's here just for tracking purposes, so we know.
Yeah.
But if if there's a concern or complaint or anything, we can follow up on it and track them. But the reason I say somebody, or I always encourage people to call me right away if they see something, because I want to get on it right away. If it was like a week ago and I go to them and I can't prove they did it, and they may say, oh, yeah, I remember that, or if they did, they would have told me.
Well, I know that one
But-
that I saw that they had run over, and I must have got off of their lawnmower and put it up against the monument. But you can tell where they ran over it and broke it off at the base, and then it was laying down next to the hill, and it looked like they had run over it and probably put it right up their end. But there's several
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anything else? Anything else you have?
I like to echo the same thing, except for about 10 down today when I got the faces. She must not ever go out there.
Randy, you don't have to-
Oh, I think she does. I think she's out there.
it's okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir. I'd move to adjourn.
Which one of you?
I'll
gonna
second.
it? Clerk call the roll.
Board Member Cook,
Aye.
Board Member Story, Chairman Calhoun.
Yes.